Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this episode of our Cairo Family Living Platform Women in Cairo series. I'm your host, Isla Farotto. Today's guest is someone who's transforming the way parents see themselves and their children. Mae Heggie is a parenting coach, life coach, and children's author whose philosophy centers on the powerful belief that awareness, not perception, is what truly creates change. Through her coaching, Mae helps parents create a stronger bonding relationship with their children, while also guiding them to shift limiting beliefs and grow in self-awareness. She's also the author of children's books that gently introduce children to emotional awareness, environmental responsibility, and neurodiversity. Thank you, Mae. I'm really, really excited to do this interview, actually. Thank you for agreeing to doing it. I'm going to start to get to know you a little bit better. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what brought you here to Cairo, if something brought you here to Cairo?
I'm Egyptian, so I have always been in Cairo. I've always lived all my life here. I am a parenting coach and a life coach, and I'm a children's book author. I write children's books that work on social emotional development. I started my career completely differently. I was a jewelry designer for 9 years, and then motherhood changed everything. I found it extremely challenging. I found that everything I knew about children and being a mother was not working. So I needed to learn and take courses and read. And this is how it all started. And then during this journey, people were asking me about a lot of advice. So I felt an urge to be sharing what I was learning with other people. This is why I did the coaching certification.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. So before becoming a parenting coach and author, you were a jewelry designer. So what was that chapter in your life like?
It was something I had passion for all my life. I always enjoyed working with my hands. I used to draw the designs and get them done. I had my own brand. It was very glamorous, but it couldn't be maintained with having children. I wish one day maybe to continue it as a hobby, but for now, I think my heart is more in the parenting and helping others side.
So your transition came from being a parent, right? So after becoming a parent, you realized that it wasn't something that you could no longer maintain. So you just adapted to parenthood in a different way, basically, right?
Kind of, but I think I reused my sense of creativity in trying to create tools for parents to help them in this as well. So for me, doing the books and the tools still involved a lot of trying creative thinking of how can I use my knowledge to create tools that makes parenting easier for children, for the parents themselves. Because sometimes there is a message you want to deliver to a child, but preaching it never works. When you keep saying, but when it comes through a book, a story, or a movie, it can come easier.
It also helps children internalize or understand certain subjects which can be a bit more difficult if just spoken, right? And also take them out of the equation and seeing things from someone else's point of view in a way.
Yes, like for example, when you create a board for their chores, for example, it takes away from you the hassle of keep telling them, do this, do that, you need to do this. So when there is a system, it helps the child feel that they're not pushed through something, and it can bring the idea for them easier.
So I'm going to ask you, what surprised you most about yourself since making that transition to becoming an author and a parenting coach?
I think that it was a complete shift in the way I viewed human beings in general and behavior. I always believed that you can control yourself more and it's all intentional, until I realized that a huge part of our behaviors comes from our beliefs. And if we as parents do not work on our beliefs, we can never help the children. It is not a script that we can just tell them if we do not work on ourselves. And this is what hits hard for a lot of parents, that we need to work on ourselves way more than we need to work on our children. It starts with us. And this is where conscious parenting comes in. A lot of us, we transmit our anxiety to our children. We transmit our beliefs to our children without knowing. So this is where coaching helps the parents sometimes identify the root of the problem through their own beliefs and where it is coming from. And after all, the children, they mirror us. They mirror our nervous system, which usually comes from our beliefs.
Let's talk a little bit more about parenting and family life then. So your motto is awareness over perfection. Can you share what that means in practice for parents?
A lot of parents are trying their best to do everything they read, everything they see on social media. We are now all the time seeing messages from parenting coaches about what to say, what not to say, what to do, what you are doing wrong. A lot of parents feel a lot of pressure and they feel like a failure. It does not help because it gets transmitted to the children. So I think when we focus more about awareness and understanding ourselves, understanding how to parent our kids, advice comes from a point of awareness, not shame. It helps the parents feel better and they transmit it better to their kids. But when the parents feel guilty, they end up having a burnout. They feel it's never enough. And then whenever they lose it or they shout, they will feel that I destroyed my kids, I did something that will cause them damage. Instead of seeing, why did I do this? How can I prevent this next time? How can I do a repair for the children? Because after all, we're all humans. We have our flaws. And awareness helps with understanding that there is no perfection. And it is true. No matter how much we try, there is no perfect model for parenting because we all have our emotional baggage. But we try to minimize the effect of this on our kids through awareness.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your family. How many children do you have? And how have you adapted what you know to parenting?
I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And trying to adapt what I know to parenting was extremely hard because this is when I understood there is a difference between knowing and being. Because what you know something, this is cognitive, this is in your brain. But the way you react is in your nervous system. So you can know everything about parenting, you can know all what you should do. But then in the moment, in the heat of the moment, your nervous system comes in. So if you don't work on this, no matter what you know, it will not make a difference. And this is the hard part about parenting.
100%. I agree. I completely agree. My other question will be, how do you balance your roles as a mother, coach, and author? What systems do you have in place? How do you manage it all?
For me, motherhood comes first, usually. And when there is time for anything else, I try to fit it in. Sometimes I cannot balance. In this, I would say you choose your battles. You put your priorities. There is always a trade-off. Sometimes you need to give up something. You cannot always balance. If you can, that would be perfect, but it doesn't come like this all the time. So sometimes you have to choose your priorities, and there is always something you give up. So when I'm choosing my priorities, it will always be the family first, and then anything else comes next.
So what's been the most rewarding thing here in Cairo?
The most rewarding thing is the times that I would find someone that I had no idea was, for example, following me or listening to me, and then they come to tell me, this changed my life. This made a huge difference. And mostly when it comes from people who may not have the privilege to have access to mental health care. For me, this is the most rewarding. When it happens, I feel it's worth all the trials and all the effort. Because sometimes you do a lot of effort and you don't feel that there is something happening. But then when you hear something like that, it clicks. It feels, oh, I'm making a difference.
So what lessons has family life taught you that influence your work with parents? So how do you use your experience as a mother to impact your work with parents, even in your creative work in terms of the books as well?
It taught me not to be judgmental because you never know what pushes someone to behave in a certain way. Sometimes a parent comes in with a problem, and then at first you'll have an impression, and when you hear them, you will always identify with at least 1 or 2 things they feel. And from this, when you identify or know how they feel, the empathy here helps a lot with helping them without being judgmental with anyone. It helped me also not to be judgmental. I see people that I don't know parent different ways, because sometimes when you first start to learn about parenting, you say, oh, this is wrong, this is bad, this is not the right way. But the more you see real stories and the human aspect of it, the less judgmental you become, because it shows you that a lot of people don't have the privilege to choose actually how they're behaving, or do not have the awareness, or they have so much pressure from the environment around them that they cannot choose to parent the way they want.
So in terms of challenges and resilience, we're going to move on to now. What challenges did you face shifting careers from jewelry to coaching and writing? Were there any challenges in terms of that shift? I would also like to know a little bit about the process it took, because you said you started with courses. Tell me a little bit about what the process was and what the challenges were in the transition.
It came very, very smoothly, because I did not intend to do that. It just came step by step. When I first had my first boy, I used to take him to an infant massage course. I used to take him to an infant massage, and then the instructor, she introduced me to the idea of attachment parenting. It was my first introduction to this concept of baby wearing, baby sharing, breastfeeding on demand. It was the first time I was introduced to a different way than what society does. I started to look into it and I found it makes sense and it goes along with my intuition as a mother. So then it was step by step. Then I started seeing challenges when he started to grow. So I wanted to understand this, understand that. So it came very gradual. It was not something I decided to make a shift. And then with the books, the part that was intentional, I decided I can do something that can be helpful for parents to transmit the ideas to the kids, to show them something in a different way. So this is the part of this had to be intention because I had to write it, to find the artists to draw it. And then I thought it's not only the kids that we need to work with, it's the parents. So I started making journals for adults to work on their own beliefs. I have those two journals. This one is for self-work, and this one, it's a self-growth journal. It works on all your internal belief system. It has a bit of cognitive behavioral therapy, ideas from different things to help the parents themselves organize their own ideas and re-question their thoughts so they can become more calm and better. They're bilingual.
Okay, fantastic. So how do you handle moments of self-doubt and creative block? How do you keep your confidence?
I handle that with trying to question my own thoughts. Because when I get the negative thoughts, I think most of us get them a lot. I try to question them and to find proof for them. So I would say to myself, for example, I can get a paper and write the negative thought. And then I would try to write proofs that this is wrong and proofs that this is right and see where it is coming from and why do I have this feeling. And usually it would come from somewhere else completely. When we track our emotions, it usually comes from feelings that we already have or ideas we already have about ourselves that started in our own childhood.
Now we're going to go back to you spoke a little bit about your children's book and your creative work before, but now we're going to just delve a little bit deeper into that. So I want to know what inspired the themes of your children's books, like emotional awareness, environmental responsibility, and neurodiversity. Is it because you know what the themes are, or did any specific challenges or any specific experiences which inspired you?
They were all inspired by personal experiences with people around me. Some my children, some are children of people that are around me, that I felt that there was a need for them to be seen, to understand those feelings. Like, for example, the book this one that prepares parents when they're having another sibling, I wrote it when I was pregnant with my second daughter, because I was seeing how my son was very worried. He didn't know what to expect. He had a lot of feelings. So this was a nice way to introduce the idea without telling him, this is how you feel. So it's like the character in the book is opening up about their worries and the parents are reassuring them. The bullying, this one about bullying is because most of our children, they have faced bullying one way or another. And the idea of the book is to see bullying from the perspective of the bullied person and the bully himself, to have an empathy to understand even the bully probably has problems and we still need to set boundaries. So having the problems is not an excuse. We need to have empathy before we judge why is a person acting in a mean way. The negative self-talk was because I saw my own son and the way he was talking to himself. And there were so many times when he would say, I can't do that, I'm not good enough. So I felt that the inner self-talk needs to change. Okay. We need a boost in this aspect, and this can help other mothers who are having this. So I would say that the trigger for each of them was personal. Yes.
Okay, they're all different. So which of your books has resonated most with families and why? Which one do you think is the most popular with families around you? Just choose one.
This one, the one. This one.
Voices in my head.
The negative self-talk.
Okay.
Yes, and usually whenever I'm in a bazaar or something, it's the bestseller, because this is one of the things that most parents would tell me, we have an issue with this one. We have an issue with the inner self-talk and the negative self-talk with the child.
Okay. So do you have plans for news stories or creative projects? Are there any creative projects that are in the loop for you that you'd like to share? Is there anything new coming out?
At the moment, there aren't. I'm focusing more now on coaching and helping the parents one-to-one. I usually offer coaching sessions.
Okay.
And it is very rewarding for me when I feel that it does help the parents.
Okay.
So regarding the books, I felt I've done what I needed to do. There's nothing more I have in mind now. So I'm focused now on the coaching more.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some Cairo questions now. What's your favorite spot in Cairo? Is there a place in Cairo that inspires you? A place you'd like to go?
Usually, I like to go have coffee in the morning after drop off. This is my favorite way to disconnect from everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like coffee culture in new venues. It's my favorite.
Me too. I like the place. Any restaurants you like? Some local insights?
So I'm not gonna, if you go next to it, you will find the Mo Bistro. It's a very nice restaurant as well. And it's nice as a family restaurant when you have the kids with you. It's not like a night outing, but it's nice as a family restaurant.
How has being Egyptian influenced your work and perspective as a life coach and author?
Being Egyptian helped me understand the very, very deep thoughts that most of us are struggling with, and they come from our culture or our upbringing. There are a lot of, I would say, wrong thoughts. They're wrong because they're not based on evidence that people grew up with that can reflect in parenting in very negative ways. For example, just the concept of obedience in children. I'm sure it's around the world, but in Egypt it was very strict with an obedient child is a well-raised child. There was never room for listening to the children, understanding why they might not be obedient, and the importance of them having their own voice and saying no. So as I grew up, I understood that saying no is something very important in life, but we grew up differently. We used to believe that saying yes is polite. So you dismiss your own feelings, you dismiss your own needs, and then you grow up to be a people pleaser and wonder, why am I suffering? So I believe this is one of the things that helped me understand this.
That's really profound, actually. But it's definitely a generational thing. I can see it. You could be speaking about just like how we were raised and how we want to raise our children and how we want to see that difference. So I can resonate. I was going to ask as well, so in terms of reflections and inspiration, so who are your role models in parenting, in coaching and life, and how have they influenced you? So who do you look up to, and where do you get your information from?
When I looked, I found there were a lot of approaches in parenting, but the one that resonated most with me was Conscious Parenting by Dr. Chevali. I took several courses with her, and her approach for me is something that was very heartfelt from my side. It's all from inside us as parents, and it's all in our level of consciousness and how we need to work on ourselves, and it reflects back on our children.
What excites you most about the future of parenting and family coaching?
I'm very happy that people are much, much more aware now than before. I see it year by year. Young mothers, they're much more aware than the 10 years before, and then parents from 10 years earlier. People are starting to question their own parenting, the effect of what they're doing on their kids. So it's like a revolution. People are now aware of mental health issues. You would say, sit normally with someone, and they would tell you, I was just with my therapist. If you go back 10 years, people were not comfortable to say that they go to therapy. And it is something that is completely transforming and different, that we look at mental health just like physical health. When you have a tummy ache, you go to a doctor. When you're not feeling well, you can go for therapy. People never used to accept those ideas before, and I think they have been transformed a lot, and social media has helped with this very big time. But the other thing is, I think that people should research more beyond social media. So we cannot get our advice from TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. It can be an eye-opener. It can drag you to see something, but go beyond, please, and read and question. Don't just follow what people are telling you to do. Don't just follow the scripts as they are, because many of the people who are talking now, not all of them are equipped to say what they say. And even if you need to see the scientific research behind every theory you are going to follow, because some things are trends, some things come and go. So you don't want to raise your kids based on trends.
Do you have any suggestions on people they should look into?
Yes, from the top of my head and from here.
Yes, that's fantastic. Yeah.
I would suggest reading things by Dr. Daniel Siegel, like The Whole Brain Child is a very good book to introduce the idea. Also, he has a book called The Power of Showing Up. It's a very good book. There is a book that for me has been transformative. It's called Brain and Body Parenting by Mona de la Hook. And it shows the effect the nervous system on behavior, a completely different approach, but a lot of parents need to read about this because it makes you see things differently.
So what's a small daily ritual or practice that helps you stay creative and inspired? What do you do for yourself to stay inspired and creative?
Having time on my own. I know that people keep saying it a lot, but it's something very important to have time away from all the noise, that you can calm your nervous system to reorganize your ideas. So for me, when the kids go to school and I have some time for myself in the morning, it recharges me. So I can then be able to give. So it's like you have to fill your cup.
If you could leave parents with one key message about raising children, what would it be?
Put yourself in their shoes. Instead of judging out of fear, remember when you were a kid and you needed to feel seen and heard. So put yourself in their shoes and then before you judge.
Yeah, I appreciate this conversation. And it was just really nice to have your insights and get to know you a little bit better. I'm going to ask you just a few because I'm still intrigued about, I want to know just a bit more about going back, your journey to being a designer. So tell me a bit about what inspired you there, how you did that, and what other artistic things do you like to do?
I love art, all forms of art. I love paintings. I have always had a passion for art. When I travel, going to the museums is the most fulfilling something for me. When I was a kid, the thing I enjoyed most was doing crafts with my hands. So when I was doing the jewelry, I was combining the artistic inspiration and the human touch of something with hands. I studied jewelry making in London after graduating from university. And I started my own brand. It was something I really enjoyed, honestly. And I felt it really reflected me. For example, I would go to Andalusia and then start sketching in the mosques, the designs on the walls. And from this, I would get ideas to turn them into jewelry. It's something I liked and I miss. And it reflected me back at the time.
It's really nice that we can just have many versions of ourselves. And I always want to remind women that you can be so many people.
Yes.
There's so many opportunities for change and transition. And so don't feel like, I just want to just inspire people not to feel like what you're doing now is what you're going to be doing forever. You can always change. You can always start again. And so this is why I'm always intrigued. And I love these conversations because you've done a 360. You still love what you did, but then you've become something different. You're doing something different. We can always adapt our lives to where we are in the moment in time. And so it's like, you never have to feel stuck. And I hope that these conversations really inspire other women and to understand that where they are now isn't necessarily where they have to stay, and just have that courage.
Yeah, I feel like inspiration is like a wave that comes through you to get something out of you. So we're evolving. We like an onion. You have so many layers.
Yeah,
and whatever conditions you are in, they bring out something else in you. And I'm sure that maybe 5 years from now, I might be doing something completely different. I don't know. Yes. So it's never a one way. Yes.
No. Never. Yes. Thank you, Mae. Yeah, I'm really excited. This has just been a really lovely conversation to have. I always love talking to you. I always gain so much from our conversations and just being in your positive energy and your smile and just all your positivity that you bring to the table. So, and thank you for supporting me on this journey. So this is my new onion. And so I really appreciate everyone who is on this journey with me, on this journey of discovery, of trying new things.
You're
doing so much, and I'm really loving it. Thank you, Mae. Thank you for all and all the positivity. Yeah. Mae, thank you so much for sharing your journey today and reminding us that parenting is not just about perfection, it's about awareness and growth. Your journey from jewelry design to coaching and writing shows how creativity and self-reflection can change and transform not just our work, but our families and our communities. To everyone watching, I hope this conversation inspires you and helps you to remember that when parents change and transform, their children naturally thrive. This has been another episode of the Women in Cairo series on Cairo Family Living. I'm Isla Farotto. Thank you for joining us and see you next time.